Planning and zoning. Have you all read the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see anything? I didn't. Seemed pretty good.
Yeah,
So,
it was pretty straightforward.
so all in favor of approving those minutes? Say aye. Okay.
Aye.
Right. All right. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah and let her do her thing.
Yeah, let me just bring up the agenda real quick because on two computers. I think the first thing that we wanted to discuss was a sort of looking at a date for the educational forum, how we want to sort of bring that together, and just sort of wanted to get everybody's thoughts on what would be, I think, the most appropriate time. I believe the feedback from planning and zoning from the full commission was that we would be better off having the educational forum before launching the survey and sort of using that as the way to advertise it and propel it around town. So wanted to get some thoughts from everybody about, what would be the best time to actually have this forum. We'll want to secure dates and then kind of go through the list of speakers to see who we can actually get.
Sure. Well, I have a feeling that trying to do it between Thanksgiving and Christmas is probably a rough time.
Yeah, I would also think maybe in the new year would be a good time to do it, just because to give us enough time.
Exactly. Okay.
What is our time frame for what did we have, 6 months for the
moratorium? Yes.
moratorium? Yeah.
Yeah, so next week, it's anticipated that it'll be adopted, and then it'll be 6 months from then.
Okay, so we have plenty of time then.
Yeah. So yeah, I would think probably sometime in January if we want to keep this thing moving.
Yeah, 2nd January.
January would be fine with me. I think we would want to have make sure everybody's back in town, that the sort of full community is here. January is usually a pretty good time for that. Ty, is there? I would kind of leave it to you to look at the town hall agenda, and perhaps find the best night for it. And then I think the thought was, just because we would have speakers who would be coming from outside of the state, to have a hybrid event.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have a time preference?
I would say, I mean, at this time in the evening works well for everybody. Probably around the 7 o'clock time frame would be ideal. That way people are back from work and could attend.
Yeah.
And do you think it'll be like an hour or a 2 hour? Or...
I would caution to say it'll probably run an hour and a half, especially if we're opening up for questions.
Yeah, probably.
So how many?
A 2 hour.
Yeah. So how many speakers would you?
Well, I think that's something we want to decide on. Is I didn't receive any other additional speakers from anyone in the subcommittee. I don't know if we want to take the list to the full commission and just see if there's any additions or subtractions to that. And then I think it's a matter of seeing who's actually available as a speaker.
Right.
I tried to give you a based upon the feedback that I got from the group here, a pretty good swath of people to come in to talk on various aspects of the industry.
Yeah, it was very impressive.
And I would caution us too, to remind us that we're here as regulators for planning and zoning. We're not scientists. We're not here to talk a little bit about the broader implications of the cannabis world itself. We have a duty to the town to think about the planning and zoning regulations specifically to this. This is the purpose of the meeting. If there are other entities in town that want to host forums and educational forums around this, I think we should certainly obviously encourage that. But this is not the place to host a scientific discussion or necessarily a public policy or healthcare discussion around the cannabis industry. So that's sort of why I wanted to bring people in who were familiar on the regulatory side, who work for USDA, who work in Connecticut specifically and have worked on the regulations, who can inform us on best practices for how to apply this to planning and zoning specifically. And I think in our communication to the town, we do want to make that clear too, as to what the purpose and the intent of this forum is.
All right, so what would you consider a successful attendance for speakers? Maybe 3, 4?
Yeah, I think that would be kind of a good panel. And you know, to get somebody who I would say definitely like I want to say Aaron Gorman Kirk, who's the cannabis ombudsperson, who will be able to talk about sort of the cannabis in Connecticut specifically. Perhaps I'm just looking at the list of speakers that I sort of pulled together here. Michelle Siegel, who's the commissioner for Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection. I think it would be best to kind of reach out to the Connecticut people first, just because I think they're going to have the most knowledge about where the state's headed. And we might want to pull in 1 or 2 federal regulators. So if we had a panel between, but no less than 3, no more than 5, I think, based on who we could get.
Right, terrific.
So are you able to contact all these people and find out if they can?
Yeah, I think once I have a date, Ty, I can work with you to kind of come up with a little bit of the invitation language. And then I think maybe if it comes from Ty and I, that would probably be the best way to send this out. So there's a sort of official aspect to it. And several of these people I do know and have worked with before.
Yep. January 1st is Wednesday, it looks like. So the following week, the 9th, like Thursday or Friday, the 10th, January 16th, 17th, January 23rd, January 24th. Are we leaning towards the end of a week, towards the beginning of a week, to the middle of the week?
I would, you know, I would say like the 16th or so. If we had our meeting, we have regular planning and zoning, and then the week after, maybe try for this. If that's
Yeah.
not too much.
Ty, when's the regular planning and zoning in January?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have that.
If it's Ty, if it's the second Thursday, it would be January 9th.
Yeah.
And then the following Thursday, as Chris said, would be the 16th.
Well, that sounds like a reasonable target. It's mid-January. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll shoot for the 16th if possible.
At 7 p.m. And I think that gives us plenty of time to kind of bring people into and promote this within the town.
And where is it being held?
I would just, I guess at town hall with the hybrid for Zoom.
Yep, the large meeting room.
Yeah, the big meeting room. Yeah.
Does anybody anticipate like people coming in and being in the big meeting room, or would this just be a good Zoom meeting?
Well, I would hope that there would be townspeople that would come in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most meetings, I mean, we're kind of the exception here, are now a hybrid in person.
Not really though, because we were just talking about it. Even though that they're in person, not many people from the public come to the hybrid meetings.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I guess I like the idea of the hybrid just because it's easier to ask questions if people are in the room and kind of get some feedback from them. I will say that I think most of the people on the list who we would look at inviting are very open to being communicated with after this too. So if there are follow-up questions and somebody is watching the video later on, we can provide email addresses so that people can send follow-up questions to them.
Do you know of any other meetings that are being held with speakers about this in town? I think you were saying something earlier about there was some other groups that were having some.
Not that I'm aware of, but I think this may encourage them to host other events too. And you know, there's certainly a value to that.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's becoming a topic of interest for everybody.
I think if we get the word out that, that people would, there's quite a few people who are interested in this, so.
So I think townspeople would come.
Yeah, and I think too that there's now kind of an ongoing question about where this is going to wind up at the federal level and you know, the ongoing legalization question. So there's that aspect too that now will be, I think, ever more in play.
Yeah, I think it's informational for us
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So Ty, I guess we'll see if we can't target for the 16th.
Yep, I'll check tomorrow or maybe Tuesday. I don't know if the selectman's office is open tomorrow, but yeah, I'll check as soon as I can to see if the room is available and let you know.
If not,
And
should we pick should we pick a second date now if that date is not available for us?
Well, maybe the following week. I think before that's probably not good, but so
The
so I-
23rd.
yeah.
Okay, so the 16th or the 23rd, whichever is available.
And if we really luck out, then the 30th, we'll just keep going down the list of Thursdays.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be a Thursday, but I agree it should be towards the end of the week, Thursday, Friday.
I think that makes it easier for people too.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think people who are out of town too tend to be back by Thursday if they're commuting.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course, we'll record the meeting too, so if anybody is unable to attend, they can still be there. We probably could open it up to questions in advance too, so if people know that they can't make it, we could still solicit questions to have answered.
Do we expect any pushback? Does anybody have a sense of that? I mean, I haven't spoken to anybody that is upset about it, but I don't know if any of you have.
I haven't. I mean, I think that if anyone is looking for education on the subject, that it would be good for anyone. I don't see why anyone would have any pushback on it. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, and I think we're stating for the record here that, you know, we're providing speakers in sort of our swim lane, but we would certainly encourage others to host other events to provide education on this too. You know, I think the more people are educated, the better. That's where we're going with this. And then, you know, I think Anne will as we start to write the regulations, where that's when people I think are going to start raising their hands and ask questions, and you know, we'll get a good swath of informed opinions at that time.
Okay. You want to talk about the survey?
Yeah, I think we kind of were happy with where we left the survey, having brought that to the full commission. And I think now it's just a matter of we were putting the cart before the horse. And now we've kind of righted that with making sure that we do the educational forum before the survey. And we may, I would think, announce the survey that it's coming at the meeting that we have in the public forum, but then take that back internally and just double check it and make sure that we do like the questions after we've had the forum.
Yeah.
And revise that during our meeting and then present that in February and then launch it pretty much right after the full Planning and Zoning Commission approves it.
Okay.
And I think that keeps us pretty much in the timeline if I'm not correct, Ty.
Yeah, of course.
And then we can keep the survey out, I would guess 2-3 months. That should be plenty of time to get information back. And then in that period, we probably should start to review some of the regulations from other towns and begin to at least come up with a very modest draft. that we can then use the survey results to sort of inform a little bit more on. But I think if we have the survey out in February, we can have a first draft of the regulations by March and sort of keep on our timeline. That gives us the full summer to really work those through the full process.
Well. Yeah.
And
that's
that
good.
stays within the moratorium timeline as well.
All right, so that kind of answers 4D, right? But the moratorium, I think we've talked about that. So we have six months with a 6-month extension time?
Yeah, you can extend it, if you'd like, but it's not recommended to extend it more than once usually. That becomes cumbersome to anybody who might want to open a business or do something.
But there's no action, there's been no application,
No, there isn't. I just know from, case law that moratoriums that continue to get extended can be challenged.
Yeah.
All right, terrific. So have we achieved what you wanted to achieve there, Sarah?
I think so. Yeah, I didn't have too much more to add to this. If as we're setting the dates here, if any more speakers or ideas come to mind, please email me and I'll put that into the sheet for us.
Perfect.
And just continue to have the conversations around town and inform people of what's coming up with this. And when we have the date, I think just be good advocates to make sure that people are coming in the door and asking questions, and that we are doing our due diligence to make the town as informed as possible.
Perfect. All right, Sarah, thanks so much. So at this point, I think we can adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, all right, all in favor? So we'll see you guys Thursday night.
All right.
All right. Thanks,
Take
guys.
care.
Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Todd.